Well, hi, hello, how are you today? I hope you are doing awesome and well. Welcome to Crime Dive. My name is Crystal Sky, and if you're anything like me, you find yourself drawn to true crime cases. So that's what I talk about. If you like true crime and you want to feel better about your own makeup skills, well, like, subscribe, and come hang out with me every Tuesday, where I take a deep dive into a true crime case while, slapping on the old war paint. I hope you all like the show title that I created for, my videos. For a while, I just had, True Crime Tuesday just on the little YouTube thumbnail, because I know it's like a thing, you've got like True Crime Tuesday, True Crime Thursday, Makeup and Murder Monday and stuff. So I just wanted like a placeholder. And yeah, I was racking my brain for like what I should call my videos. And I started thinking about, okay, like, what do I do? Well, my videos are super, super long. That's something. And so, yeah, I tried to think of something, with a play on like, deep dive or like rabbit hole or something. So, yeah, I hope you like my silly little title. I also hope that you're enjoying the new like lighting setup. We started using it in the last video, and it's kind of more akin to what I wanted to do at first, sort of like this more intimate, low light feel, just kind of hanging out by candlelight, talking about, true crime stories. So I hope you like. I hope that's, the ambiance we've got going on here. Also, totally forgot last week to tell you, we came up with a little name for our little dragon. We've decided to call him Fang. So yeah, here's little Fang here. We were on a Avatar kick, and I realized that Avatar Roku's dragon was named Fang, and I was like, hey, that seems perfect. So yeah, welcome Fang, and yeah. And one last thing before we get into today's case, happy Valentine's Day. Yes, I know it is not Valentine's Day yet, but by the time my next video uploads, it will be past. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to say happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a safe and happy holiday, whether you're spending it with a significant other, friends, family, a pet, or just enjoying it with yourself. That was some of my favorite Valentine's Days, is when I just spent it with myself and pampered myself. So yeah, whatever you decide to do and whoever you decide to spend it with, I hope you have a very happy Valentine's Day. And yeah, I think that's enough blabbering about. Let's go ahead and get into today's case. Now, today's case is wild, all right? It's wild. And, it's kind of ironic that I've revealed my little video name as Crime Dive, and this case that I'm about to present probably has like the least amount of detailed information that I can find, but it was so wild that I just had to talk about it. When you like read something or, hear about something, you just have to talk about it. Well, that's kind of how this case is, all right? It's like a Jerry Springer episode in a horror movie, all right? Yeah, that should give you a little bit of a tasty taste of what this case is about today. Last week, I said we didn't need a disclaimer, Yeah, this week, totally disclaimer. So before we get into it, there is graphic descriptions of torture and murder in this case. There is mentions of sexual assault, incest. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild and horrifying. So yeah, be forewarned. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the case of Amanda Michelle Naylor McClure. Now, this case starts out we sort of jump around a little bit in this case, so I'm going to try my very, very best to make it as concise and clear as possible. So we're going to open on a date, September 24th, 2019, and we are in West Virginia. All right, so that's where we're at right now. And West Virginia authorities, they have just discovered a body in the side yard of a house located in Sky Gusty, West Virginia. All right. They were alerted to this body by a person they have in custody. He alerted them to this murder that had taken place and where they could find a body. Yeah, so who is this guy? Who's this guy that they have in custody? Well, let me tell you. The man who has tipped off authorities to this body is 55-year-old Larry Paul McClure. All right? Yeah, doesn't he look like a prince? See, Larry here? Larry here. He's a registered sex offender out on parole, all right? He was convicted July 22nd, 1998 of first-degree sexual assault for abusing a family member between the ages of 6 and 12. Yeah, I know. What a peach. So Larry actually served 17 and a half years in prison, which I'm not gonna lie, after reading a lot of true crime, I was shocked that he served that long. Honestly, like, we really do not punish sexual assault offenses all that harshly in this country, surprisingly enough. So Larry is convicted of sexual assault, and he served 17 and a half years of prison. And so he gets out on parole, all right? Larry, though, as part of his parole, he has to register as a sex offender, all right? He has to register. And part of that entails contacting the proper authorities and alerting them to, like, important, pertinent information, such as, your address, your place of employment, etc., etc. Well, Larry moved to Kentucky, and he failed to notify the West Virginia authorities about this, which is a big no-no, Larry. That was against his parole. So the West Virginia authorities found out about this, tracked Larry down, and they had him in custody in West Virginia. And while he's in custody, that's when he tells authorities about this body that they could find at his old house in Skygusty. And yeah, that's where we're at. That is how authorities were tipped off to this body. Larry informs them that the body belongs to a man named John Thomas Maguire. So, John Thomas Bama Maguire was born December 17th, 1980 in Opelika, Alabama. Opelika, yes, I rehearsed saying that. Opelika, Alabama. And his mother's Karen Smith. Now, I don't really have a lot of information about his upbringing or like who his father was or anything, but friends have described John as just having a, quote, heart of gold and the gift of gab. They described him as being one of those people who seemed to be, quote, friends with everyone, he's just a friendly, sweet-hearted guy. John was 38 years old and was the father of 6 children. Now, Angela Erickson, she's from Owatonna, Minnesota, and she was the mother of John's 3 oldest children, Justice, Jacob, and Genesis. And she described John, kind of like how his friends did. He was just a sweet guy, and she described how when their kids were super little, John was just, kind of like a big kid himself. He would just, play games with them, and was just really, really, really sweet. And she also said that even though they hadn't been together in quite some time, that they still co-parented their 3 children together wonderfully. They had a wonderful friendship. They were in regular contact. And that's just so nice. That's so nice that a couple can separate and just be, amicable and even friendly with each other. So that was really sweet. Angela said also that she went and had a child with someone else, and that even though it wasn't, her child, it was his children's half-sibling, whenever John would come by to visit his children, he would always invite their half-sibling to play with him. Like, he treated her like he was just like her own. Like, what a sweetheart, what a sweetie. John's nickname was Bama because he hailed from Alabama, and it is a nickname that he took great pride in. He lived in Minnesota with his girlfriend, and, even though he's been described as just, a genuine sweetheart and just an all-around, good, selfless guy, he did have his struggles, as we all do, John specifically struggled with addiction, and he specifically struggled with an addiction to methamphetamine. And Angela says that, even though he made some mistakes in life, like who doesn't, that, he was just a selfless, caring guy. Just one of those guys that even though he himself did not have a lot, he always wanted to ensure that those around him did. He did everything for those that he loved. And I don't know, I just thought it was sad when I read that we have to when someone is, an addict or happens to be a sex worker or something like that, it always seems to be like, but they were a good person. And it's like, well, yeah, of course they were. Like everyone everyone has their struggles, and addiction is far, far more prevalent than we would like to think. And it doesn't just come in the form of drugs and alcohol, right? So I don't know. That was just sort of a sidebar. That's just kind of what I thought when I read that. I was like, that's so sad that, you kind of have to make that justification. But he was a good guy. Like, of course he was. He was a father. He was a son. He was a friend. And yeah, he had his struggles like we all do. We're all human. Anyway, so the last time Angela talked to John, Angela and the kids talked to John, it was in February of 2019. All right. And like I said, him and Angela were good, were friends, and so they communicated regularly. And he was telling Angela that him and his girlfriend were planning a road trip. He lived with his girlfriend at the time, and they were going to plan a road trip, Yay, great. Road trips are awesome. And he informed Angela that they were going to eventually make their way down to Alabama to see his mother, Karen, because Karen was not doing so hot at the time, and he wanted to stop by and, make sure she was all right. And that is after that, there's no communication from John, there's no texts, there's no phone calls. There was some weird posts that were posted to his Facebook page on February 15th. And they were kind of weird and ominous and didn't really sound like John, There were 3 posts. One said, quote, "Job completed, the Firefox is dead, the Mad Hatter, ha 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 ha." Weird. Another one just said, ha 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 ha. And another one said, quote, "You are all bitches just like Firefox, and you will end up the same way. Ha 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 ha." Yeah. So other than that, no one heard anything from John since then. So Angela talks to John in February, and he talks about a road trip, and that's the last she hears from him. And then there's these weird posts on his Facebook page on the 15th of February. And so, yeah, it was kind of weird. When Mother's Day came and went, and John hadn't contacted Angela or his mother, his own mother, there was a little bit of alarm bells that were sent, because this was something that John did every year. He would call Angela and his own mother on Mother's Day and just tell them what wonderful mothers they were, how lucky he was to have them in their lives, and just that's just so sweet. That is just so unbelievably sweet. But yeah, Mother's Day 2019, that call doesn't come. And at first, yeah, the family's kind of worried. They're like, that's weird because he's never done this. However, I think they were still kind of in that stage where, you don't want to sound the alarm bells. You don't want to overreact, And so I think that's kind of where their thought process was. Angela said that she even thought in the back of her mind, well, maybe he went to rehab. He's been wanting to get clean for quite some time. And yeah, maybe he just went to rehab. And, of course, when you go to rehab, your contacts with the outside world are severely limited. And so she was hoping okay, maybe he's just getting the help he needs. However, their son Jacob turned 16 in June. And again, John never contacted in any form. No call, no text, no card, no nothing. And this is what set alarm bells off for the family. Because they knew, regardless if he was in rehab, regardless of what was going on, he would have contacted his son, especially for a milestone birthday, like his 16th birthday, So when John fails to contact Jacob on his birthday, this is what spurns Angela and Justice to walk down to the police station and file a missing persons report for John in June of that year. Now, what happened? What happened to John? His family had reached out to social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that, seeing if anyone had heard from him. So, yeah, what happened to John? What was going on? Well, remember how I said John lived with his girlfriend in Minnesota? Well, his girlfriend happened to be a woman named Amanda Michelle Naylor McClure. She is 33 years old. And guess what? She is Larry's daughter. Yeah, she's Larry's daughter. When pedo Larry here was sent to prison for, child rape, he had 2 daughters. Yeah, he had 2 daughters. He had one daughter named Anna Marie Chaudray, and she was 10 years old when her father went to prison. And he had Amanda Michelle Naylor McClure, who was 9 years old when her father went to prison. Now, it is said that the girls grew up estranged from their father. They were adopted by a nice couple named Alan and Gwen Holm. I promise I can talk. I promise. And again, like with John, there's just not a lot of information about their upbringing, just that it was average and loving and that the Holmes were a nice, loving family. Now, as adults, Anna ended up in Boone, North Carolina, while Amanda ended up in Chisago City, Minnesota. And yeah, she meets John, they start dating, and they start living together. So yeah, they're living together, and they decide to go on that road trip, right? So yay, road trip! But the road trip hits a snag. And the couple ends up broken down in Indiana. And not just that, they are having the worst time. Because they are both coming off meth hard. Amanda here, she, like John, struggled with addiction to methamphetamine. She actually had a 32-page rap sheet, which was mostly on drug-related charges. And yeah, her and John were coming down hard. They were being described as being, quote, dope sick, so probably extreme withdrawals and just not having a good time, all right? Not having a good time. They're broken down, and now they are suffering from bad withdrawals. So, get this. This case has a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, all right? Like, there's just so many questions. So they're broken down in Indiana, and Amanda, she calls her father Larry, who's in West Virginia. Yeah, pedo Larry. She contacts Larry. Now, I don't know when she had established contact with Larry. I don't know if she had communicated with him while he was in prison. I don't know. There are so many questions. Like, we don't even know if she was the victim that got Larry thrown in prison in the first place, because juvenile names are sealed in court records. So, I don't know. There is a lot of questions and not enough answers. But what we do know is she called Larry and was like, hey, Dad, we're broke down and you should come pick us up. And so Larry goes and picks up Amanda and John. And who accompanies Larry? Why, it's Amanda's sister and his other daughter, Anna Marie. She's 33 at this point. And apparently, she was also living with Larry for a time. I know. I don't know why. I don't know how long. I don't know. I tried so hard to find these, the answers to these questions. And I just came up dry. Maybe because the case is still fairly new-ish, like it just kind of settled last year, so maybe that's why. But yeah, that's what we know, is Anna was staying with Larry for a time. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know when the girls started talking to their father again. I don't know when they established a relationship. Where was everybody involved that should have prevented this pedo from contacting any child, especially his own daughters? How does this happen? I don't know. So yeah, Larry and Anna pick up John and Amanda in Indiana, And they all decide to go back to West Virginia to, Larry's house and, hang out. Okay. And they're there for 7 to 10 days, so like a week and a half, and things are normal, things are cool. And during the second week of their stay, Amanda and or John, one of the two, they got the idea hey, why don't we go cook up some meth and get high? I'm like, yeah, why not? You're hanging out, you're on vacation, why not? So Larry, Amanda, and John, they all go and buy the supplies for meth. I read that they went to several different local stores, that they even traveled to a neighboring state so as not to arouse suspicion. Yeah, but they gather the ingredients and they head back to Larry's. But unfortunately for them, their meth didn't turn out. It didn't turn out, unfortunately, and they were just left with a bunch of nasty liquid after the meth failed to crystallize. And so they were left with this nasty brown liquid. However, rather than just disposing of it, Amanda put it in several jars. Yeah, that's weird, but whatever. Now, while this whole, event is going down, gathering the ingredients, cooking it up and all that, Anna has said that throughout all of this, Larry had a, quote, quiet rage going on. And she noticed that he would take Amanda to the side quite often, and they would have little hushed conversations. And another weird thing is Larry asked her to cut up several pieces of rope, which didn't really alarm Anna too much at the time because they had apparently hauled scrap metal for a time, and they would cut pieces, lengths of rope to do that. So at this point, it is Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2019. John picks up some steaks and some potatoes and some wine for the holiday, and him and Anna have dinner. I think Larry and Anna also had dinner with them. That was a little unclear, but wine was drunk, steak was eaten, and they're all hanging out in the living room after the meal. They're just hanging out and talking, enjoying the fullness of the meal, the buzz of the wine. The wine had been all drunk, but rather than, again, throw away the wine bottle, Amanda kept it close to her all night. So everyone's just hanging out, when Larry starts talking some weird stuff, all right? Larry starts talking about how, Amanda has been bragging that she could escape any, restraint that she was in, all right? Someone could tie her up and she could escape it, no problem. Not just that. She had bragged that she could tie herself up, and tie herself up in a way that if you were to come across her after she had done this, there's no way you would have guessed that she did this to herself. There's just no way. So yeah, kind of weird, and Larry's talking about this. And this spurs the discussion of a, quote, trust game, all right? Larry asks John if they want to play a trust game, and then he asks John if he can tie up his feet. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure what John would be thinking at this point, but I don't know, really weird, right? Really weird. So John's like, okay, sure, yeah, we can play this trust game. And so John allows Larry to tie up his feet. And then Anna says that's when things started to get, quote, strange. All right. So Larry ties up John's feet, and then he just kind of leans back into his couch. And he has a grin that Anna has said that she could, quote, never describe. All right. And then the next thing that happens, the next series of events that happen, they happen very quick. All right. Very rapidly. So John leans over to untie his feet. Just as he leaned over and started to touch the rope, Amanda comes up behind John and whacks him hard with that empty wine bottle from dinner. John, of course, rears up, backs up into a wall, holding his head. And that is when Anna says that Larry looked to her and said that if she knew what was good for her children and wanted them to live, she would do everything she was instructed to do from that moment forward. Yeah. So as John is reeling from this terrible blow, Larry and Amanda tie him up. They tie him up. And this is when we're going to start the graphic description of the awful torture these disgusting subhumans inflicted upon poor John. All right. So they tie him up and they start screaming at him, like screaming right into his face, right in his ears, just shouting and screaming. And they wanted to know, they were demanding to know who John really was. Yeah. They were accusing him of being an informant, and they were demanding to know who he worked for, who he really was. Yeah. I read some reports that said they were high on some home-cooked meth. It's certainly believable. Again, the reports were a little conflicting. So they shout at John over and over, screaming to demand to know who he is. And as they're doing this, Larry even takes time to like step on John, like step on him with all his weight while screaming at him at the top of his lungs to know who exactly he is. And now, poor John. Poor John. He's trying to say anything that would just get them to, like, you know, stop doing this and realize that he was who he said he was. He was like, you know, I don't know who you're looking for, but you have the wrong person. I swear I am who I say I am. He started reciting his social security number, his address, just anything that would make Larry and Amanda believe that he was who he said he was, you know? Now, Anna has said that she wanted to leave the scene. She wanted to leave right then and there, but that Larry and Amanda prevented her from leaving. And this awful standing and screaming torture would last until the very next morning. Yeah. They screamed at John all night, well into 6 a.m. the next morning. All right? Yeah, like that. It's just so awful to comprehend. Like, it's just so awful. So they finally get tired of screaming and torturing at John, and they drag him to a back bedroom. And it is there that they hog tie him and then wrap a rope around his neck. And then Amanda leaves the room for a second, and when she returns, she has 2 syringes. Now, they told John that they were going to inject him with sodium pentothal, truth serum, and then they were going to load him into Larry's truck and then drive him up north to Minnesota and just like drop him off so that everyone could see what you've done. Yeah, they're tripping hard. And so that's what they're saying to John, and Amanda has the syringes, and Anna then says that Larry and Amanda inform her that, like, hey Anna, guess what? Since you have nursing experience, you're going to inject these syringes into John's carotid artery. Now, Anna has said that she was not aware of what was in the syringes, but it's like, come on, girl, like, if you have nursing experience, you had to have known there was something not good in there. Like, it was a nasty brown, like, liquid. It was that nasty meth liquid that didn't turn out. That's what Amanda had filled them up with. So, when she hesitates, Anna says Larry then says that if she didn't want her children to pay for her non-compliance, she would do it. All right? This is what Anna says. And so she did it. She injected John with the liquid methamphetamine, and as they're leaving the room, Amanda reportedly says, quote, that should be enough to kill him. Yeah, isn't this family great? However, this bad batch of meth that they injected John with, it kind of had the opposite reaction. It did not kill him. It actually got him super high, super high, and kind of gave him that, like, like that PCP strength, it gave him like a lot of strength. Now, again, this is kind of where it's frustrating. Don't really know the minutiae details, but all we know is that, got John super high. He then got a bunch of strength, like a surge of adrenaline. And I'm guessing Larry, Amanda, and Anna discovered this. Maybe they heard him wrestling around in the bedroom or what. But next thing is Larry, Amanda, and Anna are standing over John, and Larry is shouting at Anna that she needs to, quote, finish it. All right? She needs to, quote, finish it. So, with John on his stomach, remember he's still hogtied, Anna grabs that rope that was tied around his neck and starts strangling him as Larry is standing on him. And it is said that Amanda at this time was standing near John's head and was reportedly laughing and taunting him as this was going on, saying stuff like, oh, did you really think you were going to make it back up north? Did you really think we were going to take you to Minnesota? And yeah. Larry says that Amanda even wrapped John's head in a black trash bag as they shoved his face in the cushions. Ugh, what an awful, terrible way to die. I'm sorry, but I hate these people. This is terrible, just awful. And they finally kill him. They finally kill John. Now, Anna says that after he was dead, Larry then instructed her to take what little belongings that John had brought with him and to throw them in a bonfire that he had going on in the yard. And so that's what Anna does. She did as she was told, grabbed his belongings, and burnt them in the bonfire. And when she came back, Larry and Amanda then tell her that, hey, guess what, Anna? You're going to put John in a trash bag. And they wanted to load John's body up into Larry's truck and take him to a mine shaft where Larry said, quote, he would never be found. Now, at this point, Anna says that John's body had entered rigor mortis, and that to fit John in the trash bag, she had to take him out of rigor mortis. Now, curious cat that I am, I Googled when rigor mortis sets in, just to kind of get a clear timeline of events. And it said that it can occur anywhere from 1 to 6 hours from the time of death, with the most common timing being between 2 to 4 hours. So yeah, John's probably been dead a couple hours. And I will let your imaginations fill in the blanks when Anna says that she had to take his body out of rigor in order to fit him in the trash bag, and that it is a, quote, sound I never want to hear again. Yeah. Now, Anna says, throughout all of this, during this time, Larry and Amanda were just standing back and instructing her on what to do, telling her what to do. When she got John's body in the trash bag, she was then instructed to pull it out in the porch so they could load it up into Larry's truck. And so they did, and the three of them got into Larry's truck and drove around for most of the day. However, they just ended back at Larry's Sky Gusty residence, and they ended up burying John's body in a shallow grave in the yard. Now, brace yourself for even more graphic facts about this case. All right, I told you this was a wild one. So right after they bury John, after the dirt has been piled on his shallow grave, Larry and Amanda not just carry on their lives like nothing happened. They start engaging in a relationship. They have sexual intercourse in the house that they had just tortured and murdered John in. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, it grossed me out when I read that. And Anna says that the two just acted like a normal couple. They were even talking about their lives together and what they were gonna do. What? And a couple weeks later, around 6 days to 2 weeks later, somewhere around there, Amanda, she starts ranting and raving, all right? She's convinced that John isn't really dead. John's not really dead. I know he's still alive. She's just not believing that he's dead. And so finally, she makes Anna dig up John's body And when they unearth it, Amanda starts freaking out, losing her cool, and like pointing at it, saying like, see, I told you he wasn't dead. His hair's growing, his fingernails growing. Like she was raving, dude. And I don't know if she was having a psychotic break or if she was on drugs, maybe both. I don't know. But Anna and Larry could not calm her down. And so finally, Larry said, here, I will, quote, make sure he is dead. And again, brace for more graphic descriptions. He goes over and grabs some bed rails that he has and a sledgehammer. And he proceeds to pound them into John's body all the way through to the ground. Yeah. And then they rebury John. They rebury him. Apparently this calmed Amanda down. And then, just a few weeks after John's death, Larry, Amanda, and Anna, they drive over to Tazewell County in Virginia, and Larry and Amanda apply for a marriage license. And on March 11th, 2019, Larry and Amanda were married by a Methodist minister. They reportedly told Anna that she had to come and act as their witness, and act as a happy witness, and act like this was all normal. This wasn't some freak pedo father marrying his daughter. That, no, it was just a normal, occurrence. And apparently they listed someone else as Amanda's biological father. And yeah, they were married less than a month after brutally torturing and killing John. I know. It's disturbing. And let me go ahead and put on my lash, and we'll get into some even more gruesome details. So yeah, Larry and Amanda are married. And then plans are then made for Larry to move to Kentucky, Pendleton, Kentucky, with Amanda. And they needed to landscape the property to prepare it for sale, and there were fears that John's body would be discovered. And so, for a second time, they dig up John's body, dismember it this time, and bury it in 2 separate locations in the side yard with some lime to help with the smell and decomposition. Oh, by the way, did I mention this was on the same day Larry and Amanda got married? Yeah, they got married, went home, and did that. Yeah. And yeah, they just went on living their lives. And fun fact, John continued to receive his monthly Social Security benefits, and Amanda, she went ahead and cashed and spent them. Yeah, so classy. So later, Anna would get away from Larry and Amanda, and she went back to North Carolina. I don't know how long she was there or what she was doing. I just know that Anna was in North Carolina when she was informed that her father had been arrested. So yeah, of course, after discovering John's body, Larry's registry offense charge was, of course, updated to first-degree murder, and Anna and Amanda were also arrested. They were originally just arrested for concealment of a human body, but in October of 2019, their charges were also upgraded to first-degree murder. Now, in November of 2019, Larry wrote a letter to the court. He wrote a letter to the court. This letter was later published in the press, and in it, he was waiving his right to a preliminary hearing. In this letter, he detailed Amanda and Anna's participation in the crime, and actually painted them as the orchestrators of the crime, and said that Amanda was the ringleader. He said in his letter, quote, "I cannot tell you why Amanda wanted John Maguire dead." He also said, quote, "I just want it over, no trial, no taxpayers' money spent on a trial, because he was pleading, quote, guilty/no contest." In August of 2020, after officially pleading guilty in July, Larry McClure was sentenced to life without mercy. which it seemed like Larry was like more than fine with. His defense attorney, Marcia Hebb, said that Larry actually preferred a prison environment. Okay, he thrived better in a prison environment, but he had requested protective custody. He said that Amanda and Anna were part of gangs, the Hells Angels and the Mongols, and so he wanted protective custody. At his sentencing, Larry also said, quote, "I do apologize for my part in it. My daughter's the one who had the contract on him, not me." Larry also accused Amanda of, again, being the ringleader, describing her as, quote, "the female Charles Manson." He claimed that Thursday, on Valentine's Day, he was just sitting on the porch, minding his business, when Amanda approached him and said that she was going to need things like rope because she wanted John dead. Larry then said, all right, get this. He then said that John and Anna, they had had an affair. And that affair had produced a child. And Amanda was not aware of this. But Anna told Amanda, and then that's when the two women hatched the plan to kill him. What? When they went and picked up Amanda and John in Indiana, that was the first time Anna had met John. And again, what about Larry? What about your letter? You said that you had no idea why she would want John Maguire dead. Now all of a sudden you come up with this weird, like, affair. Like, what? His testimony and what he says is just all over the place. It's all over the place. I mean, what do you expect from a pedo freak like that, you know? A West Virginia state trooper, K.M. Sadler, he said that he believed Larry was the true orchestrator of the crime. And when the judge noted Larry's, like, seemingly lack of remorse for this whole thing, I'm going to look down a little bit because this is Larry's direct quote. He said to the judge, when the judge's like, "You don't seem very remorseful," he said, quote, "There have been 3 drug addicts taken off the streets. There have been 3 murderers taken off the streets. I believe everything happens for a reason, but I can't go back and take something back." After he was sentenced, Larry then continued on and said, quote, "I hope this same sentence is handed down when my daughters are sentenced." He continued on, "After his death, I watched them. They were like 2 raging dogs. I wouldn't trust them around nothing." Well, I wouldn't trust you around any human beings, particularly children, you pedo freak. Like, it was wild reading the stuff that he actually said in court. It's a trip. And I just realized I was talking with lipstick on my teeth. Right, I hope I got it. Now, during his sentencing, Karen Smith, John's mother, was allowed to address him in open court. She had appeared to all of his court appearances, even Amanda and Anna's as well, whether they were in person or on Zoom. She went to all of them. And I want to read her statement because I think it's very powerful. And so I'll be looking down a little bit, so bear with me. So Karen said to Larry, quote, "I forgive you because my God tells me to. But I'll never forget. You and your 2 kids are going straight to hell. To marry your own daughter, that's low down. In my book, all 3 of you need to die. You don't deserve to be on this earth breathing. I'm gonna live to see you or one of your kids die before I go. Who gave y'all the right to play God?" Yes. Very powerful. Her whole statement was very powerful. Like, I was just like, right on, Karen. Like, because I'm sorry, like, this guy's a freak. A disgusting, pedo, incestuous freak. John's daughter, Genesis, also read a victim impact statement, among other things, saying, quote, "I hope you know you've ruined my life." His other 2 kids, Justice and Jacob, they read victim impact statements, just talking about how hard it was going to be growing up without their dad, not going to be around for the milestones in their life. And yeah, it was just really sad. Amanda pleaded guilty in July 2020, but she pled guilty to second-degree murder because this chick got a fat plea deal where she could plead guilty to second-degree murder. And at her virtual sentencing hearing in October, she had the nerve to ask for mercy from the court. Yeah. She said, quote, "I have to look at myself every day. My family didn't raise me to be this way. I've not only hurt John's family, I've hurt my own family. Amanda, like her father had done with her, painted Larry as the orchestrator and ringleader of the crime, and she claimed that he was jealous of John and that's why he had to die. Karen had asked the same thing that she did to Larry, like, who gave y'all the right to play God? And that's when Amanda, responded with, like, ma'am, I can only tell you that John was killed because he was with me. She claimed that John professed his love to her, said that he wanted to marry her, and that he told this to Larry, that he wanted to do this, and that's what made Larry, angry. That's what set him off, and that's what ensured John's death. Anna and Amanda's adoptive parents, Gwen and Alan Holm, they also appeared at every hearing of their daughters, and they too asked for mercy from the court, asking them to take into consideration Larry's influence on her. Alan Holm said, quote, I want to apologize on our behalf. I can't imagine what she, referring to Karen, is going through. And tried to say that Larry's influence on Amanda really had an impact on her behavior and that the court should take that into consideration and to probably reevaluate her sentence in a few years. But the judge, Jed Ed Cornish, he wasn't buying any of it. He straight up told Amanda at her sentencing that, nah, bitch, you got a fat plea deal. You got a fat deal. He's like, with all the evidence that the prosecution had for you, there is no doubt in my mind that a jury would have convicted you of first-degree premeditated murder. There's just no way. And she could have spent the rest of her life in prison. But because she got the plea deal on the lesser charge of second-degree murder, the judge sentenced her to 40 years with a parole possibility in 20 years. Now, the judge was not happy about this at all. All right. He said that he didn't think Amanda was taking full responsibility or culpability in her crime. She was blaming Larry for it all. And he said, quote, the time you will serve is not an adequate amount of time for the pain you have caused. Ooh, burn. And the judge wanted to sentence her more, but that was the maximum that the law would allow, is the 40 years with parole possibility in 20. And understandably so, John's children have expressed kind of fear and trepidation of when Amanda's going to get released. I mean, this chick's crazy, right? Not to I'm not trying to paint mental health in a negative light, but she's obviously got issues. And it's just kind of hard, right? Because she's the assumption, all right, the underlying assumption in all of the articles I read about this was that they think Amanda was the victim of Larry and what sent him to prison in 98. Again, we don't know for sure. That was sort of the underlying assumption everyone had. And it's just hard, right? When a perpetrator is both a victim and a perpetrator. But it's there are plenty, unfortunately, there are plenty of people who are abused, who are sexually assaulted, abused and sexually assaulted by family members, and they don't turn into cold-blooded murderers, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Anna. So what happened to Anna? Well, in January of 2021, she pled guilty to the exact same plea deal that Amanda got. She got the exact same deal. And in March of 2021, she was sentenced, just like Amanda, to the maximum 40 years with parole possibility in 20. Now, the judge said he seemed to be a little more comfortable with Anna's punishment, because he straight up told her, I don't know what a jury would convict you of, if anything, because Anna testified as part of her plea deal, part of her hearing. She had to go into detail as to what happened during the crime, and that's where a lot of the details of the crime came from. And the judge was like, you claim Larry and Amanda threatened you, your lives, your children. We can't prove or disprove that, but you are the one that actually killed him. And so he was scratching his head. I don't know what a jury would convict you of. So he seemed to be a bit more comfortable with her sentence. And that is the horrible, horrible torture and murder of John Thomas Maguire, who just fell for the wrong trash, man. Again. it's hard because, yeah, she probably was a victim of Larry's, but at the same time, dude, like, what? You don't kill people in cold blood. Like, I don't care. And I guess at one point during her trial, she was asked, like, hey, if Larry had, you know, if he was like this orchestrator and this like big bad mean man that you paint him as, why didn't you contact authorities? And she said that she couldn't because he just had so much fear over her and he had control over her. And like the judge straight up told her that. He's like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. So I don't know, man. It's very, I don't know how to feel about this one. Like, I definitely feel, I don't know how I feel about Amanda and Anna's sentence. Like, how do you guys feel? Like, assuming Anna's telling the truth, I guess I'm fine with her sentence. But Amanda, I don't know. It's so hard because, yeah, she probably was abused by Larry, right? I don't know. Yeah, and I'm sorry there wasn't a lot of, like, deep facts or details in this case. They're just, maybe because the case was a little newer. I usually try to do older cases, but this was just so wild. I had to talk about it. I had to. And yeah, and sorry that there wasn't a lot of like pictures or, you know, visual aids. I feel like last week there wasn't as many either. Again, there just wasn't a lot of photos available. But yeah, I hope I made it make sense. I know we had to jump around a lot there. And yeah, that will do it for me for this week. Again, I hope you have a very happy Valentine's Day. I tried to do a Valentine's Day look. I tried to do like a half red, half pink, but I don't think it really is showing up on camera, but that's okay. That's okay. Have a safe, wonderful, happy Valentine's Day, whether you're spending it with a significant other, family, friends, pet, or just treating yourself. I hope it is safe and happy for you. Take care of yourself. I will see you next week. Remember, don't be a dick. Doesn't cost anything to be decent. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.